Hi, I'm Michael B. Ross, and I'd like to welcome you to the High Performance Podcast, where better leadership equals better lives. And today, we're going to talk about something that quietly shapes every decision that you make, your identity. And I'd like to dive deep into something called the identity loop. See, the problem most people face is that they try to change their lives by trying to change their behavior. So they try new things like new habits, new goals, new routines, new discipline systems. But the results don't last. Why? Because behavior does not shape identity. Let me say that again. Behavior does not shape identity. Identity drives behavior. And until identity changes, however, behavior always drifts back to the old patterns. Here's a simple principle. You will always act consistently with who you believe you are. So I'm going to introduce to you the identity loop. It has 5 parts: beliefs, identity, actions, results, and reinforced beliefs. So let's break this down. Number 1, beliefs. Beliefs are the stories we tell ourselves. Examples: I'm not disciplined. I'm bad with money. I'm not a good leader. I'm awkward socially. I'm not capable of success. Whether these beliefs are true or not doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not you believe them. And belief always shapes identity. Number 2, identity. Identity answers the question, who am I? Examples: I'm a failure. I'm a leader. I'm a quitter. I'm resilient. I'm someone who grows. Identity becomes the internal scripts that guides behavior. Actions. Your identity determines your actions. If someone believes I'm not disciplined, they avoid disciplined behaviors. If someone believes I'm a leader, they start acting like one. Number 4, results. Actions produce results. Success or failure, progress or stagnation. But here's the key. We interpret results through our beliefs. Number 5, reinforced beliefs. This is where the loop closes. Example: belief: I'm not good enough. Identity: I'm a failure. Action: I avoid opportunity. Result: no progress. Reinforced belief: see, I knew I wasn't good enough. The loop reinforces itself again and again and again. So this idea actually has a major concept that I use in my book, The Leadership Edge. In that book, I talk about how leadership begins with self-leadership. And self-leadership always begins with identity. Before someone becomes a great leader of others, they must become the leader of their own thinking, and they must be the type of leader that they would follow. Your beliefs shape your identity. Your identity shapes your leadership. And if you're interested in diving deeper into the leadership development and personal growth that's contained in my book, you can check it out in the book, The Leadership Edge, which will be in the description below. And if you want to have more hands-on leadership development or more hands-on attention for your leadership development journey, we also offer one-on-one coaching. You can learn more about that at thehpleader.com. We work with leaders across industries, helping them clarify their purpose, build confidence, develop a vision, and the disciplines necessary to fulfill their purpose and vision. Now back to the episode. Now let's talk about the positive identity loop. And this is where things change for us, is when we start becoming intentional about our identity. So healthy beliefs create healthy identities. Healthy identities drive powerful actions. Example: belief: I can learn. Whether or not you believe this or not doesn't make it untrue. And this is something I got to stop and pause on for a second, because I think a lot of people, they spend a lot of time thinking that if I am not going with my feelings, how I feel right now, then I am not living by my truth. But let me ask you a question. Do you ever feel like being nasty? Do you ever feel like being rude? Do you ever feel like treating somebody poorly just for no reason at all? Does that make it right? Does that make it good just because you feel it? Is the truth that it is best to treat people with kindness, respect, and dignity no matter how we feel? The answer is yes. So whether or not we feel like treating people kindly does not make it any less true that the right thing to do is to treat people with kindness. So we have to dispel that idea that if you don't feel it, it is not authentic. It is authentic. And to be a great and authentic leader and human being, living by the truth consistently is what needs to happen. So back to the example at hand. Belief, I can learn. The truth is you can learn. Whether or not you feel like it, whether or not you think you can, the truth is you can learn. So let's take the identity loop based upon the belief that I can learn. This is how this can turn into identity. Is the identity is because I can learn, I'm someone who grows. So you identify with learned behavior where you can grow, you can get better. So you identify as someone who grows. I am a continual and voracious learner. I am somebody who always finds the answers. I'm someone who can always find solutions. That is an identity. That belief embeds itself into your body and into your subconscious when you take action. So the action associated with someone who knows they can grow is that they take risks and they try new things. The research shows we live 95% of our lives in subconscious habit. We do the same things over and over and over and over and over again. And the problem in delusion is when we expect different results from the same actions. So when you focus on the identity that I can learn new things, I can get better, I can grow, the actions are close in following that identity. And if you identify with something, if you believe in something, you cannot act consistently out of alignment with that belief. So whether it's a positive or negative belief, if you act out of alignment with it, your belief system will sound an alarm and let you know that you're out of alignment with it. Now, I have a very good friend who for years and years and years, really great person, great guy, takes care of people, goes above and beyond. And there was a time he stepped out of bounds and he did something that he should not have done. And he made a big mistake, which caused him to have an identity crisis. Who am I? What do I actually believe? I stepped out of alignment with being this good man who takes care of people, and I did something very selfish. And so he and I sat down and we talked a lot about this, and he had to work through the fact that he made a mistake out of alignment with what he believed, what he valued, who his identity is. And so then he can look at the action as a mistake and not something that attacked his identity. What a lot of people do, however, is they are not consistently acting out what they believe. And so they waffle to and fro between two different ideologies and philosophies, and they never establish a true identity consistently. So I just want to tell you, as we look at this, as we look at identity to action, I want you to be very mindful and very careful that you don't associate a belief and identity of who you are based upon mistakes that you've made. Here's what I will tell you about the truth. The truth is mistakes are made by human beings because we are human beings. We are human beings who, when we are human doings and we do things, we screw it up. And that's typically how we learn. There's something called the law of nines, where it takes 9 failures to reach a desired level of success. So the fact is, any mistake you have made in your life does not determine the person that you are. Where you are in life does not determine who you are. So make sure when you're evaluating your actions, you're not associating a blanket identity or belief system based upon mistakes you've made. So you make a mistake, you call yourself a failure. I am a failure because I made a mistake. No, you made a mistake because you are a human being who is trying to become better. We are not created in perfection. We are created in flaws, especially when it comes to becoming the best that we are. I don't know always the total meaning or the total idea behind this human experiment, but I do know a couple things are consistent. We get the most joy in life when we are in pursuit of becoming the best version of ourselves. It's not in becoming or reaching the pinnacle that we feel the best. It's in pursuit of it. And in the pursuit, you will make mistakes. So identity, I'm someone who grows. Action, I take risks. I try new things. I learn new things. I read books. I ask questions. I seek mentors. And then the result is improvement. What happens if you read a 60,000 page book in a month? You have more ideas. You have greater internal clarity because you have to use deductive reasoning when you read to make sure that you understand. And if you apply, those ideas then become new seed and substance in your life that can change everything. So someone who identifies themselves as someone who grows, who takes risks, who takes in new ideas, then gets the results of planting new seeds. And those seeds can then turn into a reinforced belief, which is the results. So these results then come in to see, I'm capable, I improved, I got better. And then your confidence grows, momentum builds, and the loop strengthens. Now, why is the identity loop so important to leaders? Why is this vital for you to understand for yourself and for others? Because great leaders understand something powerful. People don't rise to expectations. I say it a lot, and I do think it's important that we set expectations for our organizations. I do think that's important. But people don't rise to expectations. You as a leader that comes in and says, hey, my expectation is you reach these numbers and you come in at this time and this date and this idea and you do this and you move this by this time and you move these milestone markers around, you follow this critical path, and everything's going to be great. It doesn't really work like that. People rise to identity. It goes back to Pavlov's dog back in 1927. Research study that if you give a dog a good name, a dog will live up to it. Well, human beings aren't dogs. We're not animals. But we also live up to the identity or the name we have created for ourselves. And you as a leader create 70% of the variance of people's experience in your organization. And you can help people rise to a new identity, give people good names. Bad leaders try to control behavior by using behavior modification. They don't talk about beliefs. They don't talk about identity. They only talk about action. I need this done, and I don't care how it feels to you. I don't care what your experience is. This is what I need done. And that's just bad and poor and lazy leadership. And please, if you're listening to this and you have leaders in your organization who acts like this, could you please either help them develop or get them out of their position? Leaders like that destroy lives. And I don't say that haphazardly. We spend a third of our waking hours at work. And if you've ever worked for a poor leader, you know how terrible it is to wake up every day and go and be in that environment. So if you have poor leaders in your organization, do something about it. Either help them develop or help work them out of your organization. So great leaders help to shape people's identities. They help the individual see themselves better than what they are and help that individual climb. And the results always follow the identity. A person who sees themselves as better, if they see themselves as a professional, if they see themselves as trustworthy, if they see themselves as a big contributor, if they see themselves as important, if they see themselves as vital, and we can help them see that at a greater scale, they will live up to it. But a lot of lazy leaders, they don't take the time to even focus on what an individual thinks about themselves. Most leaders don't even know the foggiest thing about their team members, which is very sad when you think about it. So a bad leader says, work harder, just work harder. Hey, we've got all this stuff going on. We just need to work harder. A great leader says, this is who we are. And these challenges that are coming in, it's nothing for us because we're bigger and better and stronger, and there's nothing that can tear us down. What a difference in the way that we approach problems when we see ourselves as bigger and stronger and better, and people who can learn, people who can grow, people who can thrive. Identity-driven cultures say things like this. We solve problems. We serve people. We take responsibility. We grow every day. Identity then creates culture because the culture is built amongst the highest levels of identity on your team and the lowest level. So meaning this, you've heard the saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Well, the lowest level identity of someone in your organization is the anchor that is pulling you down right now. And that anchor is being held by a chain of identity. If you believe that your identity is we solve problems, we serve people, we take responsibility, we grow every day, and the majority of the people in your organization believe that, you will thrive and there is nothing that will hold you down. But if you take the opposite approach, that's not my job. That's the way we've always done things here. You can't change anything at this organization. The leaders don't care about us. You will be held down by that low level identity, that low level vibration that keeps you from being the very best that you can be. Your identity creates your culture, and your culture then creates the results. It's not hard to follow. The most productive organizations are about 68% productive per day, low level 22% productive per day. And you know the difference? It's identity. It's what people believe about themselves. In the highest producing organizations, you don't have people that are constantly blaming, complaining, deflecting, or making excuses. You have people who believe they are the best and they show up as the best. So here's how to change the identity loop. Here's where you start. First things first is we always have to assess. I know if you've spent any time with me, or if you've spent any time on this podcast, or spent any time in our community platform, or if you're a client of ours, you know we spend a lot of time at High Performance assessing things because we have to know where we are. We have to know what's going on inside of us. So the first thing we have to do to change the identity loop is we have to identify lies that keep us from seeing ourselves as the masterpiece that we are. So we have to ask ourselves, number one, what belief about myself is holding me back? You can also ask this about your company. What belief about our company is holding us back? But examples, and these are very common, by the way. Examples: I'm not capable. I'm not smart enough. I'm not confident. I'm not a leader. This is why you have to take time to assess, and you have to take time to get quiet, which is, I mean, goodness gracious, it's so hard to get quiet nowadays, isn't it? You have your phone in your pocket buzzing. You have nonstop notifications. You have phone calls. You have demands. You're going from to to fro every single day. Everybody's busy, busy, busy. It's a badge of honor being busy. If you're not busy, you don't feel capable. You don't feel worthy. But to assess well, to identify the beliefs, you actually have to slow yourself down. I use earplugs. I put earplugs in almost every day because I have to shut out the noise, figuratively and literally. And I have to assess, what is going on in me? What is happening? What are the voices? What are the lies? What are the self-debilitating beliefs that are holding me back? And you got to write them down. You have to identify what the lies are. And then number two is you have to replace them with truth. So an example, instead of saying, I'm terrible at speaking, say, I'm becoming a powerful communicator. Instead of saying, I'm not confident, you can say, I'm building my confidence. Number three, you could say, I'm not capable. I am capable. I'm not smart enough. I can always learn. There's always something you can replace negative phrases and statements with. And another thing you can do to go even deeper is find out who that voice is. Is it someone from your past? Is it you? Is it a comparison trap? Find out where the voice comes from and then name it. I mean, easy thing to do is name it a jerk. Name it something foul. Name it an a-hole. Name it something that is going to be visceral to you, that you're like, dang, yeah, this stupid voice in my head, yeah, that's the jerk that's always trying to keep me from being successful. It's just a voice in your head. And then what we have to do is you have to turn the volume up, especially in the beginning, on the positive voice versus the negative. You have to say them again and again and again. And here's something that you have to catch and you have to grasp. This is why you have to take time to assess, and you have to take time to get quiet, which is, I mean, goodness gracious, it's so hard to get quiet nowadays, isn't it? You have your phone in your pocket buzzing. You have nonstop notifications. You have phone calls. You have demands. You're going from to fro every single day. Everybody's busy, busy, busy. It's a badge of honor being busy. If you're not busy, you don't feel capable. You don't feel worthy. But to assess well, to identify the beliefs, you actually have to slow yourself down. I use earplugs. I put earplugs in almost every day because I have to shut out the noise, figuratively and literally. And I have to assess, what is going on in me? What is happening? What are the voices? What are the lies? What are the self-debilitating beliefs that are holding me back? And you got to write them down. You have to identify what the lies are. And then number 2 is you have to replace them with truth. So an example, instead of saying, I'm terrible at speaking, say, I'm becoming a powerful communicator. Instead of saying, I'm not confident, you can say, I'm building my confidence. Number 3, you could say, I'm not capable. I am capable. I'm not smart enough. I can always learn. There's always something you can replace negative phrases and statements with. And another thing you can do to go even deeper is find out who that voice is. Is it someone from your past? Is it you? Is it a comparison trap? Find out where the voice comes from and then name it. I mean, easy thing to do is name it a jerk. Name it something foul. Name it an a-hole. Name it something that is going to be visceral to you, that you're like, dang, yeah, this stupid voice in my head, yeah, that's the jerk that's always trying to keep me from being successful. It's just a voice in your head. And then what we have to do is you have to turn the volume up, especially in the beginning, on the positive voice versus the negative. You have to say them again and again and again. And here's something that you have to catch and you have to grasp. You will never, ever fully shut off the negative voice in your mind. Why? Because your mind is actually built for survival. 80% of your thoughts are negative. You are not going to shut off the active negative voice in your mind. It's always going to come back. But the good news is, you can exercise the demons. You can exercise your mind. You can exercise your mind into thinking positive thoughts. You can retrain your brain to go in a better direction so that when negative thoughts come, you can immediately counteract them. And so this takes practice. This takes time. And so you have to take number 3, the identity-based actions. Instead of saying, I'm trying to write, say, I'm a writer. Just one quick example. Instead of saying, I'm trying to write, I'm a writer, and I write daily. You say, I write daily. You say, I practice daily. You want to be a better speaker. I speak daily. I practice my speaking daily because that's what a great speaker does. I'm a podcaster. I record podcasts. I record podcasts once a week. I record on this day. I am a podcaster. Identify yourself with the behavior that you are trying to change and simply reinforce it with action. Because here's the thing. Belief is the precedent of all action. Beliefs to identities to action. When you take an action that is even counter to the negative belief, you begin to reinforce the positive belief, just like the opposite. You can do this both ways. You can reinforce negative beliefs with action, but you can also reinforce the desired positive beliefs with action. So don't simply hear what I'm telling you. Don't simply say these positive things out loud. Do something to back it up, to prove to yourself that you are that identity. And then reinforce the loop over and over and over again. Every small win strengthens belief. When you say, I'm a professional, when you do things in accordance with being a professional, that is strengthened in your identity and your belief system. Then the loop begins working for you instead of against you. But let me ask you something. What belief in your life may be limiting you right now? And what would you change if you replaced that belief with truth? So take any negative belief that you've had about yourself that you know you've reinforced with action. I've got dozens of them. And so I'm always working on this. But ask yourself, what is a negative belief that could be limiting you right now? What are results? And look at the results in your life that you don't like. What is the belief behind that? And how has that shaped your identity? How has that shaped your actions? How has that reinforced your actions? And how has that created results for you? Ask yourself that question. Sit with it. Sit in the uncomfortability of it. Because this is the deep work that is necessary to have a better leadership and better life. If you are going to live a fulfilled, impactful life, you have to start at the foundation, at the root, at the core, which is your belief. So ask yourself, what belief might be limiting your life right now? And what would change if you replace that belief, that negative or that lie, with the truth? What would happen? Imagine, take one bad habit. The easy one is poor eating habits. A lot of people have poor eating habits. Most people are not in good shape. We have a 35% obesity rate in the United States right now. And globally, I believe it's 30%. There's a lot of people who eat poorly. What would happen if someone looked at the way they eat and looked at the results, and instead of saying, I'm just going to eat better, they go to the belief that is behind it and the identity that they have formed based upon that belief? What would happen if someone who believes they are fat, who believes they are out of shape, who believes, and then they identify, well, I'm out of shape, I'm going to try to work out, I'm going to try to show up. What if instead, not lying to themselves, they say, I can eat better. I can always eat better. I am someone who eats better. I am someone who eats healthy. I am somebody who eats in a way that is going to feed them positively. What would happen if that person reinforced that belief over and over and over and over and over again? The belief would turn into their identity, and then the actions become easy. And I love the old Chinese proverb says, to understand is hard, but once one understands, action becomes easy. And to understand the power behind belief and identity is where the actions sustain in change and new results. So most people try to change the results, but results come from actions. Actions come from identity, and identity comes from belief. So if you want to change your life, start with your beliefs. Change your beliefs, change your identity, and you will change your life. That's the identity loop. And I'm Michael B. Ross. I'm thanking you from the bottom of my heart for joining me for the High Performance Podcast today. And I want to invite you to be intentional, be exceptional, and lead.